Hello, friends. The latest update on JQ's health looks promising, according to Mark Pope. That's great for the Wildcats. Let's get to the news. The recovery of Jaden Quaintance, the center that Kentucky has treated like a gem since he arrived in Lexington, is finally starting to take on encouraging contours. And for a team still seeking stability at the start of the 2025-26 season, few news could have come at a better time. Mark Pope, who has been dealing with a roster marked by absences and physical uncertainties, offered last Friday the first truly positive update on the status of his potential lottery pick. And he did so with the kind of enthusiasm rarely seen from the meticulous Wildcats coach. Pope revealed that Quaintance has not only returned to participating in indoor activities, but is already performing light contact exercises. For a player who suffered an anterior cruciate ligament rupture in his freshman season at Arizona State, simply regaining the physical rhythm of the game is significant. But the coach went further. He recounted that the center spent 20 extra minutes at Rupp Arena after practice just dunking. For Pope, that wasn't a simple detail. It was a clear sign that JQ is regaining confidence, energy, and, above all, that physical presence that made him coveted by Kentucky. According to the coach himself, the moment almost caused a scare. Quaintance participated in a 2-on-2 drill against a reserve team for the first time since the injury. Pope admitted that he almost had a heart attack when he realized the center had entered the game without permission. But the comment, despite the drama, came with a smile. It was the good kind of scare, the kind that shows a competitor is ready to reclaim their territory. This evolution comes at the right time for a team that, even with a 4-2 start, still clearly lacks solidity in rim protection. Quaintance, in his rookie year, already showed signs that he could become exactly that, a paint keeper. His averages of 9.4 points, 7.9 rebounds, and an impressive 2.6 blocks per game, with over 50% shooting accuracy, make it clear that he is not just an athletic center, but a player with real impact on the court. For a Kentucky team vulnerable in key moments and still searching for its defensive identity, his eventual return could drastically alter the team's competitive ceiling. In the locker room, the expectation for his recovery is not limited to technical analysis. According to Pope, the player celebrated his participation in practice, almost as if it were a small collective victory. It's easy to understand why. Beyond his skill, Quaintance seemed to possess a particular magnetism, quiet energy, a contagious work ethic, and a sense of responsibility that the coach highlighted with unusual praise. He's an amazing human being. Like, really amazing, Pope stated, repeating to emphasize the magnitude of what he sees in the young center. With Tennessee Tech on the horizon, a game scheduled for November 26 at 7 p.m. on the SEC network, Quaintance's presence isn't guaranteed yet, but his progress suggests the wait won't be long. And more than that, it fuels a feeling that Kentucky is about to recover a fundamental piece not only to adjust the defense, but to redefine the course of the season. JQ's return may not happen immediately, but the simple fact that he's dunking after practice already serves as a beacon of hope for the fans filling Rupp Arena and for a coach who, despite initial difficulties, seems to have finally found news worth celebrating. Kentucky's long journey to establish itself in this new cycle involves several stages, and the most significant of them at this moment is seeing Jaden Quaintance taking his first steps back into the spotlight. And on Friday, there was another highlight as the Kentucky Wildcats faced Loyola, Maryland. Cam Williams emerged as one of those narratives that make fans' hearts beat faster. It wasn't just a memorable performance. It was a confirmation of something many had been longing for since his arrival in the program. Finally, Williams was finding his place within the team's identity. From the moment he announced his transfer to Kentucky. Interestingly, on the same day the Wildcats played the previous season's Sweet 16, Williams carried high expectations. After all, he wasn't just another player entering the college circuit. He was someone whose resume already boasted solid credentials. In his brief stint at Tulane, he demonstrated deadly accuracy in his shots, an attribute that immediately sparked the interest of Mark Pope, the coach who has been working tirelessly to mold his roster into something capable of competing on the biggest stages of college basketball. But until then, Williams seemed to be finding his place, adjusting to the nuances of a system that demands much more than efficient scoring. And perhaps that's exactly what made his performance against Loyola Maryland so remarkable. The final score, 88-46, tells only part of the story. What really stood out was how Williams dominated the game without ever forcing the ball. With 13 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals, he not only contributed in various facets, but also did all this without compromising possession even once. No turnovers in 30 minutes of play? It's an impressive statistic. But what it reveals goes beyond cold numbers. It shows a tactical maturity, an understanding of the rhythm of the game, and an ability to make decisions under pressure that are hallmarks of transformative players. And there was more. At the end of the first half, with the clock ticking in the Rupp Arena in anticipatory silence, Williams received the ball, quickly positioned himself, and hit a three-point shot at the buzzer. It was a kind of play that makes a crowd erupt in unison, but it also reflects something bigger, confidence. That same confidence that now seems to overflow to the rest of the team. When a player gets moments like that, he not only elevates himself but inspires those around him. For a team that is still building its identity after the departure of important players like Kobe Bryant, this injection of energy can be crucial. Mark Pope, always reflective in his analyses, highlighted after the game that Williams resembles Bryant in certain aspects. The comparison is interesting because both share that unique ability to fill gaps without necessarily stealing the spotlight. They are players who build bridges between the main stars and the rest of the team, ensuring that the machine runs smoothly. But what makes Williams special is his versatility. He's not just an accurate shooter. He's someone who can grab crucial defensive rebounds, distribute timely assists, and even lead the defense when needed. Against Loyola Maryland, he proved this in every possible way. Williams' plus or minus 40 points in the game is further proof of his influence. It's not just about how many points he scored or how many plays he created individually. It's about how his presence in the game alters dynamics. When he's on the court, the team plays with more fluidity, with less hesitation. This is something intangible, difficult to measure in statistical tables, but impossible to ignore for those watching live. Now, looking ahead, it's clear that Williams' development comes at a critical time for Kentucky. December promises to be unforgiving, with a series of opponents that will test how far this group can go. Teams like Michigan State, Kansas, and UCLA await on the horizon, each representing unique challenges both physically and tactically. But with Williams beginning to find his rhythm and showing signs that he can be much more than just a complementary piece, there's reason for optimism. His evolution not only strengthens the current roster, but also provides a solid foundation for the future. This victory over Loyola Maryland wasn't just about numbers or the final score. It was about a young player beginning to realize his full potential, about a coach seeing his bets pay off, and about fans glimpsing what the future might hold. If Cam Williams continues on this path, it wouldn't be surprising to see his name mentioned again. After the heavy defeat to Michigan State, which exposed structural flaws in the paint and a certain stagnation in rotations, Mark Pope decided to act. And, unlike what usually happens in turbulent times, the changes had an immediate effect. Kentucky, finally, showed signs of competitive life. The first major change came at center. Brandon Garrison, whose season has been marked by fluctuations and a much smaller impact than expected, left the starting position to make way for rookie Malachi Moreno. The change, loudly requested by a large part of the fans and silently suggested by his performance on the court, seemed natural. Moreno, despite his lack of experience, displays rhythm, energy, and an aggressiveness that was lacking in the Wildcats' interior. His presence offers something simple but essential: a center who plays like a center, a player who contests, protects the paint, and is not afraid of physical contact. At the same time, Garrison is now experiencing a moment of uncertainty. Talented but inconsistent, the young player may still find his place again, but the enigma surrounding his role only deepens. Kentucky needs urgent answers, and Pope clearly indicated that patience at this moment is a luxury the team cannot afford. The second change came out of necessity. Emo Diabate, who had been carrying some of the physical responsibility on the wings, suffered an ankle injury in the game against Michigan State and missed the game against Loyola, Maryland. The prognosis, however, is positive. The problem doesn't seem serious, and his return next week against Tennessee Tech is likely. The simple fact that there are no structural concerns already relieves the coaching staff. To replace him, Pope turned to Cam Williams, a player with very different characteristics from Diabate. At 2.03 m tall and with above-average mobility, Williams brings something that was missing to the starting five: real spacing. His three-point shots force opposing defenses to give up inches to contest his mechanics, which benefits the entire Kentucky offense. If Diabate delivers strength, rebounding, and physical presence, Williams offers an offensive outlet that was lacking at various points in the season. It's true that, physically, the trade leaves Kentucky with 4 players with more guard profile, accompanied only by a true center. This could be a risk in matchups against more robust paint defenses, but the initial impact of the change speaks for itself. In just a few minutes of play, the Wildcats opened up a 20-8 lead and at halftime already held a 30-point advantage. The fluidity of the offense, the defensive aggressiveness, and the transition pace finally seemed to align with what was expected of a team coached by Mark Pope. More than adjustments, the changes reveal a team trying to rediscover its identity. Moreno gives a team presence in protecting the basket. Williams opens up the perimeter and alters the offensive geometry. And Diabate, when he returns, can be reintegrated into a more defined role without the burden of carrying the paint alone. After days of criticism, doubt, and mounting pressure, the game against Loyola, Maryland showed that Kentucky still has room to correct course, and more importantly, has enough talent to do so. Now we'll see how that work continues. Leave your opinion.